Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, something like that. It's Saturday morning here, 6 a.m., 4th of March. Greg McMillan's already on the screen. I didn't bring you out of it first. High quality production right here.
Yes.
Of course, so Greg messaged me yesterday and he says, "Are we live streaming tomorrow?" I went, "No," because I'm thinking in my head we did it last week, but last week was out of the sequence of what we normally would do. So I thought, yeah, let's do it. Morning, Greg.
Morning. How are you?
I'm well. I was a bit flustered as to what do we talk about here, but we found some good things to talk about, I think. What's the weather doing where you are?
Just cold.
Just
Not
cold.
snowing or anything. Just cold.
I saw on that private chat group that we have for the admin that was it Scott Baker put this big thing of like a forecast, like a satellite image of snow. What's going on there?
Yeah, he's probably getting snow now. Maybe I don't know. I don't know when that was coming. But
Okay.
yeah,
Not sure. He hasn't
sucks to be him.
posted anything on that on that group. We see. I purposely didn't when Greg said to me yesterday we live streaming, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I thought I'm not going to advertise it and just see how many people we get in. And the main thing I was trying to avoid was Scott Baker going, "You're late, you're late, you're late." every time.
And now he's late. He's really
now
late.
he's late. That's right. Morning, Nolet Photo. Gurpreet. I don't know if I say that right, dude. Sorry. Morning, afternoon. So what's happening on your podcast, dude?
We just put one out with Mike James. That was fun talking with him. And let's see. What I have coming up is April 1st. I will be talking with Rick Salmon. Now he's a pro photographer who used to be a Canon guy. He switched to Sony because Canon wouldn't let him use his iPhone and put himself out there with that. Sony's okay with it because it's a Sony sensor.
Yeah.
He was in the Explorers.
Hold on. When you say they wouldn't let him use it, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think he wants to be able to use it for his photography. And,
is he sponsored by Canon, is he?
Yeah, I was just going to say he was an Explorer of Light in that elite group of Canon photographers.
Yep.
And so he wants to use his iPhone, and they wouldn't let him use it for now, to what capacity I don't know, but he couldn't use it to for in his professional career, I guess. And so he said, okay, fine, I'll go to Sony.
Yep.
Because these things have a Sony sensor, and so Sony's going to be okay with it.
Yeah, right.
And he's in Morocco right now, and when he gets back from Morocco, I'm going to give him a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to record an interview. He's got that group on Facebook called Explorers of Life. It's kind of a play on the Explorers of Light.
Gotcha. That's a good group, eh?
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's some good photos in there. Yeah. I think, did you maybe invite me to that? I think maybe you did.
Yeah, I invited a bunch of people to it.
Did you invite that Addison fella?
Oh, I probably did.
Oh, probably not. He's scared of Facebook. He's one of those tinfoil hat wearing Mark Zuckerberg's like looking over everything. I'm saying this because I know he's watching because he's commenting in there.
Yeah. And he says we're still late.
Yeah, well, English are going to complain about something, mate. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So we're talking about our top 10. Well, I'm just going to say 10. It's not necessarily the top 10. We'll probably get some more in here. If you've got any that you think should be added to this list as we go, just throw in the comments and we'll discuss it anyway. David Addison's first thing is not to watch my channel. I think I don't know what to say to that. Besides, I saw that you posted a video and I still haven't watched it.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. That was a retaliation shot. Like, you post that, you're going to get shot at.
Yeah.
Love it. We should have brought him on. Haven't spoken to him for a while. I'm not saying I miss you. I'm not saying that at all, David. So
well, maybe he's not doing nothing. He can get in.
If you want to, mate, just send me a message on Instagram. I'll send you a link and you can hop in. He'll be if he's going, I might do it. He'd be frantically running around trying to get his lighting and doing his hair and stuff.
Well, it's only about a little after 7 p.m. for him right now.
Okay. Do you have like a wall of clocks in your house there?
No, I just know that he's 5 hours.
This is where.
He's just 5 hours ahead of me.
Did he send you a clock as well with his face? Oh, that was Mike James, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Mike James that sent me the case. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just sad. That's really sad. I'll have to open up Instagram. So did you have a think about the top 10?
Well, I don't know what you have for your list because you didn't share it with me. But I'm gonna wing it. You mention what it is, and I'll have something to say.
I went old school and wrote it down with a pen and paper.
In cursive?
Yeah. No, in writing that I can't really understand. And I wrote it. So
I do have one in my head
that you would say, "Yep, go for it."
I have one in my head. It's never assume that a mobile phone or mobile camera, whether it's an Android, iPhone, GoPro, drone, anything, never assume that they work the same as a traditional camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw a comment in, it was actually a question that somebody posed. I think it was in that Explorer of Life group.
Yep.
About the aperture. So this person obviously doesn't even realize that you can't even adjust the aperture in a mobile camera, unless you take a portrait mode and play around with it that way. That's the only way. I mean, it's not really adjusting the aperture because you're not changing the exposure by doing that. All you're doing is changing the depth of field.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's interesting. It's when I was telling Greg before we went live, I did a meeting presentation sort of thing with a photography group and computing group in Western Australia yesterday. And that was actually something that we spoke about, was just how different DSLR mirrorless photography is, or any other photography, to mobile photography. There's so many different aspects of it that are just so different. The computational stuff alone makes it, I think, a different genre altogether. But the aperture, when you're talking about that exposure triangle, was kind of an exposure line on a phone, because you can't adjust that third point of the triangle.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I'm quite happy sitting here talking to you. I'd rather be doing that than spreading concrete this morning.
Yeah.
That's hard work. Absolutely hard work. So well, not so much with the aperture. I'll just send this to. I did send it to him. Did I send it to him? No, I didn't send it to him. I'll send it to him now. It's in your Instagram there, David. If you're keen, just let me know. Well, I'll see you jump into the studio if you do come on. For me, it would be the number one thing with mobile photography. It would be not using the size of this thing to its advantage. Like I think you probably know that most of the stuff that I shoot is usually upside down, because I can get this lower to the ground. It's all about perspective in my head, when I can change, not so much for astro, but for general photography. The more I can change the aspect of how you look at that, you're taking the advantage of this thing and the size of this thing, the small, well, physical size of the whole thing. And if you can use that to your advantage, I think that's what makes it different to regular other photography with cameras. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, to the point of the size of it, that I see a lot of. So with Rick Salmon and Scott Bourne and Scott Kelby and all these guys,
what are you jumping on all these names?
Hey,
you're dropping all these names.
Yeah, well, all these guys, and there's some gals too. I mean, and there's so many pro photographers that are like really good high-end pro photographers are really doing stuff about iPhone photography or mobile photography. Most of them are iPhone, and they're really it's like they've just discovered it, and they're really they're putting themselves out there with it, with Facebook groups and podcasts and things like that. And one of the things I see a lot in their forums or groups or whatever is in the conversations is that they don't have to lug a whole pile of gear around anymore. They can just throw this in their pocket and away they go. So that's a big thing about the size of it is, like, I tell you, when I sold all my Canon gear, I had a great big backpack style camera bag that I used to take, out with me to go take pictures and stuff. And I don't miss it one bit. I don't miss it at all.
Well, as your YouTube channel gets bigger and bigger, you're going to be taking that shit with you again, just to film for YouTube. You're going
to. You know what? I'm gonna do my best to keep it at a minimum.
Yeah. Well, I can, but with what I do, there's lights involved, there's stands involved, there's multiple tripods involved. So I'll go out to take a photo with my phone, and I'm taking this camera, more likely that's a ZV-1. It's only small. 2 tripods, phone holder, at least 2 lights, sometimes the strobe or the speed light, then a flashlight to compose the photos. So you're taking a lot of crap with you. Look who's in the house. Did you see him down there? Shall I bring you straight on, David? Give me a thumbs up if you want to. He's in. Good morning, good afternoon, evening. How are you, mate?
Good evening. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Time.
It has been a while, mate. You're looking well.
Yeah. The last Instagram message you sent me was an invite to a...
I know, I just saw because I had it on the screen here, and I've pasted it in there, and I was sitting there waiting. I'm like, he hasn't accepted. Oh shit, that's from November. I better send it the right because it looks the same. It's the same sort of link, which with the last of the URL a little bit different. What have you been up to, mate?
Nothing exciting, to be honest. Just working a regular job these days and finding time to film YouTube videos, which are few and far between when the days are so short during these winter months. But now that it's starting to get light again in the weekdays, I can crank up production, which I'm really excited about because I've got some great videos planned.
Yeah, good. Yep. What is a regular job?
I'm head of marketing.
You were doing cruise ships and stuff, weren't you?
Pardon?
You were doing cruise ships and stuff before, photography on cruise ships. Is that right?
I was, yeah. I was a cruise ship photographer for 4 years, yeah.
Yep. So now I'm thinking, what is a regular job for someone who has done that?
I'm head of marketing for a construction firm.
Okay.
So
that's every 5 days a week sort of job? Is it?
Yeah, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, the usual.
Yep.
But I get to be creative doing that. I get to fly my drone and
nice.
make videos and take photos. So I'm satiating my creativity.
That's good. You enjoy it?
Because you know how it is, Shane. YouTube doesn't pay as much as people might think. Even when you're big time celebrities like us, legends of the game, they still don't pay you. They don't pay you too much.
It's I think if you rely wholly and solely on the ad revenue that comes, it doesn't. It just doesn't. You go and speak to people like Danny Black. He does quite well with the sponsored content that he does. I would suggest that Danny probably brings more money in from his sponsored content than he does from the ad revenue, because that's all he does is review. So if somebody wants him to review something, he's going to say, sure, I'll do it for $500 or something. So instead of making $30 or $40 on a video, he's making 500 on the front foot. So in my head, that's how I know he sends letters out, and the ones that he does do, he generally gets paid for it. So that's one way to bring it, I suppose. But if you were relying only on ad revenue, well, no, you couldn't do it. There's not enough money.
Yeah, not a chance. But I'm actually starting to. I've seen that firsthand now. I got my first sponsor towards the end of last year, which was great. And they've signed up for 3 more sponsored segments, which is fantastic. And I made more money from that one sponsored segment and it was only 1 minute and 30 seconds long. And you know, I made more money from that than 3 or 4 months worth of ad revenue. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Well, and you probably saw the same thing when you first started YouTube with the different podcasts and the YouTube educators that are around. They say, don't rely on ad revenue. It's not going to be enough. You're going to need to bring money in otherwise. And every sponsored thing that I've done for those videos, because my niche is so small, if I do something off of that, so if I went out and did videos on that,
what is that?
Road. Just tank. Yeah, that would just tank. It wouldn't do well at all. So pretty much every sponsored video that I do, it gets in front of people, but doesn't go off like a regular sort of video that I do, like the Astro stuff. So my thinking around that is, if I want to do, if somebody wants me to do something sponsored, it's got to be part of one of those videos, or it's no point doing it, and then you're going to pay. That's it. That works for everybody that way. Yeah,
I know.
This is not even a top 10 mistake of mobile photography.
Sorry, mate. Falling into this trap of people will reach out, and I'm like, I can't afford to review this thing because, like you say, you're going to get 50 views, but I want this thing. And then start using this thing, and then you're like, oh damn, I'm supposed to make a video about this. And then they're like,
the worst one for me is when someone says to review this, and you go, sweet, so you spend a couple of weeks doing it, and you go, this is okay, it's not great. How do I get excited about this? Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes what it looks like on paper is just so much better than what it is when you physically get it. There are exceptions to that. That Sherpa system, like you did that ND, or that, what's that, like a MagSafe thing that you put on the back of your phone? I can't remember the name of it.
Pans,
Yes. And I had that Freewell stuff. That's a like magnetic filters as well. Shit, that thing is good. I'm so impressed with what they did. It didn't fit in the niche as well as you want it to fit. It should have been part of something else. The video on its own didn't do as well as you would like it to do. But if you put it into an Astro video somewhere, they would get much better reach, I think, for their buck anyway. That's
100%. Hey, sorry to hijack the conversation, by the way. Greg, you're looking really good, man. Have you updated your lighting?
No. Well, I mean, I just tried a couple of different things here, and basically the same lights that I've had before. Just kind of rearranged them a little bit.
Looking really good.
What's up on the shelf behind you there?
Pardon?
Mini. What's that mini behind you? Up on the shelf there.
Those are okay. So those are boxes from. So the two that say mini are HomePod minis.
Oh,
and
yep.
Then I've got my. Where are we here? That's my iPhone 14 Pro Max box. That is my wife's iPhone 12. There's Mike James's mug.
Oh, yeah.
And then I've got some reflex lens boxes there. Just something to, fill in the space instead of putting.
I've got Lego
junk up there. Yeah. Well, that's just you're younger than I am.
How old are you? I don't think I've ever asked you that before. You look pretty old, I reckon, like late 60s, early 70s.
You look pretty old.
I'm just fucking with him. He knows that. Oh, he's gone. He's finished.
I'm 57.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't think you look 57. I don't think you. I really don't. You definitely don't look 70 or 60, like I was saying. I'm just taking the piss.
No, I look a lot like I did when I was about 30, except maybe a few more wrinkles and some gray hair.
Sure. I look like I did when I was 32 with the same amount of hair.
You froze. Oh, there you
go. Yeah, you froze.
We'll get back on to.
You froze just when you had that look on your face.
Well, there's a few times that David has frozen as well on my screen. I'm thinking, shit, is he gone? Nope, he's still there. Nope, he's still there. So we spoke about that.
You actually did freeze there, David. You did that, and then you froze.
Oh dear. Oh, this is interesting. I haven't heard of this fella. Have you heard of this? Juan Bagnalls. Haven't heard of that. I'll write that down so I can go and check it out later. So we'll get back onto this top 10 if you like. Do you have any straight off the bat, David, that you want to think of, that you want to bring up?
Yeah,
Number one mistake that you see people doing?
Yeah, no.
Besides watching my videos?
Zing. No. I would say not practicing enough, not putting in the hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Expecting results just straight away.
Yeah, I would agree with that. When I do photography group in my hometown here, I teach photography and it's a small group of people. It's like 10, 12 sort of thing. And I think more often than not, you show them how to do something. They expect to get it right away, straight away, every single time. And I talk about, that 10, there's probably a name for it, that 10,000 concept. You do something 10,000 times and you become a master at it, if you like. Whether that's if you're playing violin, you're practicing for 10,000 hours before you become a master at it. I think the same thing is, or similar sort of situations with phones, or with cameras, I should say, taking photos. And the more you take, the better you become. I don't think it ever becomes second nature to most people. The more you do it, the more habitual it becomes. So I'd absolutely agree with that. We spoke about small sensor. We spoke about aperture. No one else has really put anything in here. There we go. There's a comment here. I was on a cruise once that shot 120 her. TLR. What's TLR? Do you know what TLR is?
Twin lens reflex.
Twin lens reflex.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's one of those with the twin lenses.
Oh, yeah, right.
An old film camera.
Jeez.
One of them, I think, instead of focusing and composing in the same lens like we do now, you use two separate lenses.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. What's Mark Goyne saying? Aloha. Is he in Hawaii?
He's just so happy to be back out of Facebook jail.
He's usually there with Patrika. Do you hear guys talking about lenses being dirty on the phones? Do you hear people talking about that?
I do hear people say, number one rule, clean your lens.
Do you think it makes a difference?
It has to be pretty darn dirty to make a difference. Like what they're saying is that if it's all smudgy, then you'll get a haze in the image. Personally, I've never had that issue. Yeah. And I hardly ever clean my lenses off.
It has to be I don't ridiculously filthy to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because the aperture is so shallow. Well, is it?
Yeah.
Really?
Can you see any dirt on that or not? I don't know if you can see or not. There's a bit of smudging on.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And people will say, when I put it in a video, you'll see it in some comments, clean your bloody lens. It's going to it's making your photos all I honestly don't think it makes that much of a difference unless it's really, really dirty, as you say. I just don't see it myself. I was going to read my list, high-tech list. You may have seen that before a bit, David. I didn't share this with you guys because it's on paper. Storing photos. This would be something that I figured you'd probably take the lead on, Greg, because you probably do use multiple places to store your iPhone photos.
So my, I mean that's including backup then too, obviously. So I use iCloud because I am shooting with an iPhone. I have 2 terabytes of storage in my iCloud plan, and when you use iCloud and you have a Mac, those iCloud photos, they're not just in the cloud, they're also in container folders on your Mac. That's why your iCloud photo library can get to be umpteen gigabytes in size. Mine's probably almost 40 gigabytes in size right now because they're storing them on your Mac in a in a folder structure. That the only problem with that is that there's no organization. I mean, photos that I take today could be in 2 or 3 different folders somewhere within that structure. But and one of the caveats of backing up or of using iCloud photos is if you delete it off your phone, it's deleted out of your iCloud photo library. And so there's no backup. However, I use Backblaze to back up my computer. So it's backing up this folder structure, and I'm paying not okay. So, and then another thing about online backup is that it's more like an archive. If you delete something off your computer, 30 days later, it's deleted out of your online backup. But I'm paying a couple dollars extra a month, I think, to Backblaze to keep them there forever. So if I delete something from my iCloud photo library, and if it's something that I really, really, really have to find, I can go through my Backblaze archive and find it. But it's a kind of a convoluted way to do backup, and I mean there's people who they'll clean their phone off once a month or whatever, and do the old style file or image management on their computer, where they could put it in folders based on date and time and place and all that stuff. And I've thought about doing that, but that's just, to me, that's the old way that I did it with my DSLR stuff. And once I started using iCloud photo library, I mean, you can still find stuff easy enough. You can go by date, you can go by place, you can search for a place, and it'll show you the photos you took there. It's just not readily available that way. Now, that being said, you can create, albums and folders and stuff with photos on the Mac, and all that stuff will show up in your iPhone. And I mean, there's different ways to do this stuff, and it's just whatever suits the individual the best. But that's my workflow anyway, is iCloud photo library and then back it up on Backblaze.
Sure.
I have a question about that. So this is one of my pain points of iPhone photography is I'll take the photo just like this, and it's in RAW, it's in the iCloud photo library. Then I'll get the depth of field in focus. I'll edit it in Lightroom or Darkroom, something like that. That I'll have to export it as a JPEG or a TIFF or something. Take it into the Focus app to get the nice depth of field. Export it again as another TIFF. Then take it into Lens Distortions and add some other effects, and then I get another TIFF. So then I end up with five versions of the same photo. Do you then delete the previous 4 TIFFs, or do you know what I mean? What do you do in that situation? Do you even have that similar workflow?
I don't have that workflow, but generally, when I work on an image in Darkroom, I export it as a copy. Now, Darkroom is brilliant in that if you work on an image and just save it, it actually saves it in iCloud Photo Library that way. And you can revert it. You can do all the stuff in Darkroom that you can in the Photos app. But I generally like to save as a copy. That way the original stays as the original. And so, I mean, my photo library is probably very sloppy, or very cluttered with duplicates and all this stuff. But eventually what I do too with the photo library is I'll export everything onto, like, I keep my photo library on an external drive just because my iMac only has a 256 gig hard drive. But my photo library lives on an external drive, like a 1 terabyte drive. And when it gets to a certain size, like after probably 2 years or whatever, I'll set it aside and I'll create a new photo library and start fresh again. Take all the phones off my phone, and just start with a fresh new photos library. And so that way it frees up a lot of space. But to get to the point about, all these images, it's kind of a good idea to do what you're doing there, really, because if you want to change something in your workflow, say you worked on it in Focus and saved it as a TIFF, and then after that you've done a few other things, but eventually in the end of it, you're kind of, I didn't want to do it that way. You can go back to a certain point in your workflow and change it again, and just get rid of the ones you don't like that are ahead of that step. And it's kind of a smart way to do it, really. The problem is that, yes, you have these duplicates of the same image throughout the workflow process, but at least it's a kind of a way of a non-destructive workflow where you can,
and these TIFFs are like 175 megabytes a go.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So, but you're absolutely right, though. My biggest regret is deleting stuff, being too stringent with not keeping anything. But trying to keep my photo library, like my Instagram grid, looking really nice on it. But now I really regret loads of files I don't have that I had now.
Another thing to consider is what's the end game for that image? Is it like these big TIFF files? I wouldn't use a big TIFF file unless I planned on printing it big. If it's just something that you're just going to look at on your phone or your computer or put it on online, I would never save it as a TIFF. Even though
that's for the sort of photos that we would shoot day in, day out sort of thing. For I watch my sister-in-law with my 3 nieces, and she takes bucket loads of photos. Now, if you remember when you were a kid and your parents would come out and because cameras weren't everywhere, if you wanted to take a photo, you had to make a deliberate, conscious action to go and get a camera and take a photo, and then you'd print those that end up in a photo album. People generally don't do that anymore because they're taking photos on these. So I'm thinking with my sister-in-law, she's taking lots of great photos of the kids, but where do they go? Like I say, before you had a hard, we used to joke about things like the house is burning down. What do you grab first? The photo albums, because you couldn't replace them. And now I think, well, the end of your contract's up, so you're going to get a new phone. You don't back it up properly, you've lost everything. So all those years of history of photos with your kids and family and all those sorts of moments are gone. So I think having a backup plan, a backup strategy is more important than the type, I guess. I think as long as you're backing it up somehow, that you're not going to lose them. Where that backing up is something similar to what Sarah does. She does the photo books. I think it's like Snapfish or something they're called. So she does that every year or so. She'll go through all the photos and just put them in a book for the same thing. House burning down, grab the books, off you go. But I do think that people will be losing photos because we live in a very fast revolving time. What's happening now is going to be forgotten in 30 seconds. Like David going through your Instagram feed, making it look nice. You've lost those photos and you wish you didn't. But I guarantee you there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people around the world who are doing exactly what you've done. And I've done it myself. I go, I've taken a ripper photo of that. Where is it? I can't find the bloody thing. I had it on Instagram, but I got rid of it. I think having a backup strategy is important, regardless of how you do it.
What I always need photos for is for a video. And I'm like, I need an extremely specific example of something.
I've done it so many times.
Before I forget, if you don't mind, I'd like to hijack for 30 seconds because I'm planning, and I predict this is going to be a game-changing video for me. I want to make a video about camera app subscriptions, and what's triggered this, I've been interested in it in a while as more and more apps are switching over to subscription. But what triggered this was the recent Filmic Pro catastrophe when it went from version 6 to version 7. And from the outside looking in, it looks like every user is just furious at this switchover. I want to explore, is that the actual reality, or is it just a very loud minority who are pissed off on Twitter, for example? And I want to get both sides, the developers and the users, what they think of subscriptions, why they use them, why people don't like them. So if you two guys, I want to throw you both a bone and try and bring you up, you know. If you two guys, and if anyone in the chat has a very strong opinion on app subscriptions, camera app subscriptions, and wants to be in the video, is willing to come on camera, then reach out to me, Instagram, Twitter, email, something like that. So, but yeah, just before I forget, there's my little spiel. Thank you.
I won't send you anything on Instagram because I would like the next thing that I send you to be another invite. just so I get confused. But we spoke about this briefly, I think, in one of the live streams at some point. I remember having this conversation, and it was somewhat because I have different thoughts on this. I have the thoughts of the developer who needs a regular income, and I kind of get that. But I also get, especially with Filmic Pro, because that's probably the most used video app on an iPhone in the world. And people go out, make that one-off purchase, and they're done. That's what they're using. Plenty of people use it as a tool for their work. And then just to throw that subscription on there, even though they got that backup, which I didn't even realize was there until Greg pointed it out, as in the legacy option or whatever it was called. Because I personally only use it when I'm testing, anamorphic lenses, and that's it. I don't use it for anything else. But when I first saw it, I was like, for fuck's sake, I'm not paying for this damn thing. I've already paid for it. So that was in my head. I've already paid. And it wasn't a cheap app, Filmic Pro.
No, it's not.
I paid. Yeah. I paid for that
already. If you want to use Log as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I think when Even Longer first came out, it was a one-off buy, and then it was a subscription. Is that right? But I remember talking about Even Longer. Say that again.
Oh, sorry, Sorry, a call came through on my Mac for some reason. It was a subscription just to RAW. You could get JPEG as part of the one-off purchase.
Oh yeah.
Well, now it's a subscription, right?
Is it? Completely.
I'm sure it is. Well, you've got the option. I don't know about JPEG. I don't know now that you've said that, because I would only use RAW for that app. But there is a subscription there, and again, I look at that as a pretty good example. That's a one-man band doing some pretty amazing things with an app. He's constantly putting work into that. So for me, that kind of makes sense that he's doing a lot of work for it. That he should be trying to get some dollars for that. That makes sense from a business point of view. But from a user point of view, that app makes sense. But Filmic Pro to me didn't make sense. It wasn't broken before. It was working perfectly fine before. So I don't know. I'll come on and have bitch and moan about it in your video if you like. I can.
Yeah, I'll put some questions together. Have a think about it, and you can be a talking head if you don't mind.
You can count me in too, Dave.
And you, Greg. Yeah, but you can't be Mr. Nicey Nice Canadian. You know, you have to. You know.
Well, okay. So on this whole subscription thing, I talked to Mike James in the podcast the other night about okay, so he's got the smartphone photography club, and he's not calling it a subscription, he's calling it a membership. So we just talked about the difference between the two, and then in another chapter of the podcast, it was probably right after that maybe, we talked about supporting developers, and some of these developers, I won't go into too much detail, but they need to make a living, and some of them that's all they do is develop apps. and some of them, like some of these ones that do it for a living, are like, look at Halide. Excuse me. The team at Halide, that's all they do is they work on Halide, and they probably got some other things on the works, but that's their bread and butter. And so going to a subscription was probably the only alternative for survival for them. So it's a two-edged sword, right? I mean,
yeah. I think with an app, because it's such an impersonal thing, what Mike's talking about there, they're supporting Mike. They're not supporting an app that's on your phone. Like, I wouldn't have a clue who makes Filmic Pro. Wouldn't have a clue. Wouldn't know if they.
I know the guy that makes it.
But my point is, I don't. So I don't feel that emotional connection to pay them. I want the tool, and the tool was already doing what I needed it to do. So for me,
I know the guy, but I don't subscribe to it. I use the legacy one, but I mean, in truth, I switched over to Cinema P3 as my the app that I used to record. That's what I used to record my last video that I did. It's a fantastic app. I don't know that it does the de-squeeze though. I'm not sure, but I haven't used an anamorphic lens for so long. I don't know.
Sure, but by all means, David, send your questions through, and I'll answer them and send you the video. Happy to.
Thank you very much. Sorry for hijacking again.
That's all right. When you said I'm going to hijack this for 30 seconds, or that nothing takes 30 seconds on this channel, then we live show nothing.
My bit did, then you two went off on one.
That's what I mean. Like if it was just me as a talking head, it would take 30 seconds. But hey, that's okay. It's totally fine. People come here expecting that. But the first thing that when you said, and they just go off on Twitter, and I thought, God, every time I look at Twitter, when one of you guys post something and I get an alert on my phone that like David Addison has posted it, or Greg McMillan has posted on Twitter and or tweeted or whatever the fuck it's called, and I'll go on there and you read what you guys have done. Yeah, cool. You start reading through shit. You go, God, this is just a cesspool of hate. This app. It's God. I don't know how people, it just does my head in. I think there's so much hatred in the world. It's on that app. All of it is on that app.
Yeah. I would love to be banned from Twitter.
I don't know. You'd have to do some of the stuff I see on there is just absolutely horrible. And you go, this is, how are you not banning people left, right, and center for, well, is there such a thing as Twitter jail? Must ask.
If someone gets reported, they can get suspended.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. I guess they don't get reported they probably do get reported, the amount of hate that you see going forward and backwards. So we've talked about aperture, we've talked about small sensor size, we've talked about, what else we talked about? Dirty lenses. That's 3. We're not going to get through my list because we've already got a couple in here. What did you say, David? Practicing, that's 4.
So we're talking about mistakes you make with your mobile photography.
Yeah. Printing.
I suppose
you guys print your photos?
Sorry, printing. Oh, I know nothing about printing, so I'm out of this this section. I think Greg prints his photos.
Yep. the focus of the Mac was going.
They did that again.
You've got like this cool YouTube studio going on there, Dave, with that light that's changing color. That little 3 or 4 inch light. It's like you're one of those hip guys.
When you said David's scrambling to get his lighting together.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's hilarious. Ulanzi, not sponsored.
This was one of those situations where I wanted the lights, but of course they wanted a video in return, so I had to make it.
Yeah. They actually sent me 2 of these ages ago, bloody ages ago. And it's fantastic. But 2 of them, one of them died within like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to share that. I'm not going to be, how good is this video? And when they sent me some other stuff and they said, oh, we haven't seen a video about that. And I'm like, yeah, because they're shit. Like one broke within a week or so of having it. I'm not about to throw that out to my audience and say how good it is. But realistically, like that light that you've had there behind you and this here and every other Ulanzi light and pretty much every RGB light that's on the market is basically the same, right? They're just different shapes. But
they're all made in the same
like a police car and lightning and
this one. Look at the look at this strip on the back that you got on yours. Yeah, it's identical.
Potato. Hey, size matters. Look, I could. I'll turn it on good. Just so you can see it's what you do with it, right?
Exactly.
So you don't print any photos from your phone at all, David?
No, but now that I've moved house, I should start printing and get some photos up on the walls, to be honest.
I'm not like just saying it because you're on here, but some of the photos you take are pretty fucking impressive, I think. And they should be on the wall. I think it makes it. But I'm not being a dickhead. I'm not taking the piss. It's like legit. Like some of your photos are just sensational, and I'd be putting them on the wall if I was you. I think
God bless you.
When you've got something physically in your hand, like I'll go through my house, and every photo in my house is a photo that I've taken, except for one, and printing them and putting them on the wall. I think it brings it that next level. It's something emotional about it. It's pretty cool. And when people come to your house and it's actually a real person, not just a comment on YouTube or a comment on Instagram, and they say, that's awesome. How'd you do that? Did you take that? I think that's cool.
Definitely.
Somebody mentioned it here, and it is on my list. Compositions.
Yeah, what did he mean by it? I think composition is one of the things people mistake often. I'm still guilty of it.
He's saying his compositions of his photos, bad composition photos.
So they're just poorly composed. Okay.
Yeah, it's like that's what he's talking about. Yeah, but in saying sorry, go on, Dave. There's a bit of a delay between you and I think.
That's fine. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I always preach, like, even like when you go out intending to take photos, even if you don't take any photos, at least try and don't be down, don't be disappointed. At least try and learn something or identify a composition, and then be like, I like that. However, the lighting's not quite right. I'm going to get out Sun Surveyor and I'm going to find out when the sun is going to be in whatever direction it needs to be. And I'm going to wait till golden hour and I'm going to come back and I'm going to get that composition.
Yep.
Rather than just dismissing
I'd agree with that.
The entire trip.
And
it's easy enough to do.
On the point of composition, I would say watch other photographers' YouTube videos, and they don't have to be a mobile photographer. They could be just like I watch probably half a dozen pro photographers' YouTube channels. And just in doing that in the last year or so that I've been doing it, I've seen a difference in my own work. I pay attention to the lighting more, and composition is kind of sometimes what's the word I'm looking for? Determined by what the light is doing. So sometimes if I look at a scene and I want to do it this way, but no, I think it might be better this other way because just the way the light is. I mean, that dictates. That's it. My composition is sometimes dictated by the light, and so I'm putting more thought into it. Whereas I used to do like you said, Shane, and but now I'm taking more time planning out my shot on the spot, and it's paying off. It's paying dividends as far as the satisfaction I get out of it.
Yep.
Do you guys ever watch Thomas Heaton?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really he's forced me to really slow down, just slow down. And the way he's describing,
I don't think this is monetized, mate. It's all right.
He's up there. He's like, I'm going to wait for I'm going to wait for the sun for the clouds to just do that thing. And I'm like, Jesus, I would have been pissed off. So I think slowing down and taking my time. And this dude, I know he probably takes more in reality, but on the video, guy's taking 2 pictures the whole video.
Yeah.
He might actually only be taking that amount in real life. I'm sure there's the odd extra one he takes as well.
Yeah.
You got to check out Gavin Hardcastle. Have you seen his channel? It's called Photo Tripper.
You
photo with an F.
onto him,
Yeah. I've learned more from him than I have from Thomas Heaton. Well, I've learned from a little bit from Thomas Heaton. I've learned from Adam Gibbs. I've learned from Nick Page. The 4 of those guys, Gavin and those 3 others, did a road trip a couple of years ago. Actually, it was just before the world changed in March of 2020.
Isn't that when you and I started our YouTube channels, mate? David?
Yeah.
We started the world changed.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about something different?
I don't like to say the C word, and I'm not talking about CU in the Northern Territories. I hate saying that word online.
You mean the wolf flu?
Not live anyway.
You mean the Kung Flu?
Yeah, that's it. The Kung Flu. Anyway, these guys did this road trip. It was called the F4 road trip, and it was a series of 10 videos, and they teach so much stuff in these videos as a team, as together. But of course, they've all got their own channels, and I've learned more from those guys than I've learned from anybody else, I think, about photography. And just check out their individual channels. They're all brilliant in what they do, whether it's actual shooting or post-processing or whatever. But a lot of that stuff can be applied with mobile photography.
Mm-hmm. This kind of goes against what we were just talking about a minute ago.
Yeah, no, I used to subscribe to that thing, just take a crap load of pictures to select from. But now I find I'm taking so many duplicates, and I'm going through them. I don't want to spend the time going through a load of photos. I'd rather challenge myself to take less.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm not saying he's wrong. It's just preference.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
When I first started shooting weddings, I would shoot a couple of thousand photos in a wedding, and present the customer with 400. And now, if I shoot 600 photos at a wedding, they're probably going to get 500 of those. It's just taking your time, working out what you want, not wasting data, not wasting film. You know what I mean? That's not a light. That's a light.
That's gold.
That's exactly what that. Yeah. Yep. Totally. Kia ora. He's across the ditch. Dave from My Aperture Tales. Do you follow him on Instagram? He has 2 Instagram pages, My Aperture Tales and My Mirrorless Tales. I think maybe he's been on the show here before, David.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah. I watched the show.
Takes some ripper photos. Composition we've done. My favorite, and it kind of goes. Well, it's actually Greg's favorite. I put it on here mainly for Greg, and it kind of goes in with composition a little bit, and that's this. The horizon line. Because we have a bit of a joke on that private Facebook, the admin group on Facebook, when somebody posts a photo. It's a magnificent photo if you look like this. Oh, that's cool. The horizon lines. And every time you see it now, we just copy it and paste it because I know it pisses him off. He's like, damn it, just fix it. Takes 30 seconds.
Hey, I have one. Not treating your mobile photography like you treat real photography.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's kind of, I kind of started with that point, David. I said, don't assume that mobile photography is the same as traditional photography. And that's where the aperture thing came into play. Because I don't know if you caught the start of the stream or not, but I mentioned this person on one of the groups that I'm in. It's a group where there's a lot of traditional photographers turning to mobile now and experimenting with it. And she said she had a question about the aperture. Any tips on improving your photos, changing the aperture, whatever. She didn't realize that you can't do that on a phone. And so I mean, the only way you can is in a portrait mode shot, you can play around with the aperture, but it doesn't affect the exposure of the image. So it just all it does is play with the depth of field.
That's fine though, and that goes into what I was saying. Her inquiring about the aperture means that she's trying to treat her mobile photography like she would treat her traditional photography, which is what you should do. Because if you think it's just a phone, why bother to put in the same amount of effort? Like when you take out your big boy camera, you put in the effort with your composition, your lighting, your planning, all that sort of stuff. Whereas with your phone, you don't tend to do that. Maybe because it's with you all the time. You don't see it as a serious camera, so you don't put in the effort. And I found my mobile photos really, I mean, and I explored that in a video. One of my first proper videos I made was called "How to Trick People into Thinking You Have an Expensive Camera." And the main point in that video was,
this is expensive.
I know, yeah. Well, back when I made that video, the phones weren't £1,000 or $1,000. Yeah, it was still on iPhone SE territory. So I compared an iPhone SE first gen to a Nikon D800.
Oh, I remember that video. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
And I went around the town in Romania I was living in and asked people, which one do you think was taken with €5,000 worth of photo gear? And which one was taken with the SE? And no one could get it right because I'd taken the time to get the lighting, the composition, the editing, and all that sort of stuff, rather than just.
Yeah,
it's a good video. It's worth watching. Although I did film it on the D800, and that thing is not a video camera, so I'm hunting. The focus is like doing what Greg's camera is doing. It's just hunting all the time.
Yep.
Greg's camera is the MacBook, isn't it?
What's that?
Yeah, Greg, what are you using?
It's the webcam. It's the webcam on the MacBook, isn't it?
No, I'm using my 10s Max.
Okay.
I can show you the difference. I'll show you the difference here.
Sure.
That's the webcam.
Oh yeah, I'm using my Max webcam.
And I've got to take this back.
You've got better lighting. It's that light that you've got, David, that makes the difference.
I've got to take this back to get repaired again because he put the camera in crooked. See the shelf back behind me there?
No, it's fine. If everyone leans over a little bit, it looks fine. you see David?
Now, David would say that if that's how his video was going, he would say his wife was doing the video. He would say, that poor girl, she takes so much abuse from you about that. There's a running joke on one of David's Instagram accounts where Roxy takes his picture and the background might be focused and he'll be blurry.
Oh, you see that, Shane? It's hilarious.
Yeah,
it is. It's really good. It's funny.
It was pretty funny. Do you spend much time in YouTube Studio, David?
No.
There's something that I've seen on there this morning that YouTube's got podcasts in there now, and on the YouTube Studios. So I'm going to try something once this is finished, and if it does work, I'll do it that way as well, because I've got a feeling it's just going to take the audio from a video. You said that. Did you say Scott Bourne does this? Greg?
Jefferson Graham. Scott's not doing the stuff anymore. So Jefferson Graham, he's doing all the stuff for iPhone Photo Team, and he's putting out. He's doing a live stream on Thursday, and then putting it out as the podcast on Friday.
Okay.
And I'll
see how it works.
From it.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen it there, so I don't know how it works yet, but I may well just try doing that. I think it will only share it. YouTube being YouTube, it'll probably only let you do it to YouTube anyway. So I don't know how many people go to YouTube to listen to something. Don't know.
I have a feeling, Shane, that you're going to be able to take the audio from, say, this live stream and somehow port it over to an RSS feed that will become a podcast. I have a feeling that's probably what's going to happen.
Okay.
It doesn't show up in mine because I've only got like 136 views on my last video. But
it's early days, Greg.
I know. I just kid. But I think that's probably what's going to happen is you're going to be able to just somehow maybe export it as a podcast and then put it in a feed somewhere like on Anchor. That's where I put mine.
Yeah. Okay. See, part of the reason I went today with the top 10 is because I did the latest video I did with the comparison of the two phones. I said there's 10 things in there and no one has picked this up. So one of the 10 things was just a regular photo and I didn't actually add it in the video at all. When I did the editing, there was a massive corruption. Well, it wasn't a massive corruption. The file was just fucking corrupt of that part of the video. And it was from the Samsung. Just want to say that. The Samsung video is one that corrupted. So I couldn't actually add that into the video. So even though it's like 10 comparison things through this video, there's only 9 in there. And no one's actually commented on there only being 9 at all.
That's great.
Says the man who wears many hats.
And no one picks it up, says the man that drinks out of many cups. Storing editing. I was going to talk about editing.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
So I did a video, it's probably a year ago. In my room here, I've got a line of hats up on the wall, and I just grabbed one. I have like, this is my favorite this week, and this is my favorite this week, and so forth. So every video you usually see a different hat sort of thing. And one video, every single scene had a different hat. So in the back of my car, I had like 15 hats, and I'd talk about this bit, then change the hat. Then talk about this bit, then change the hat, and no one noticed. It was like a 10-minute long video with like 15 hats, and no one noticed. It was pretty funny. And Greg, when I told him about it, he's like, "I thought you did, maybe." I thought, yeah, maybe. And we did a live stream here, and he's like drinking out of a cup. Then a few minutes later, he's drinking out of another cup, and then another cup. And I'm sitting here watching it. I'm like, "Fuck, was that a different cup?" No, I'm just seeing shit. And he tells me afterwards, and he went back and had a look, and apparently
4 cups.
And apparently you could like see the gears turning in my head. Like, was that a different cup? And he came back to watch. The last
They're
one I
all
think we were
white,
talking
though.
about is okay. So
They
you're
were
a
all
racist
white
cup
cups.
collector. Is that what you're saying?
Huh?
You're a racist cup collector. These days here, in
I
the
have a
news
black one.
here, I think if you describe something as white or black, it's just crazy how quickly people pick up on that sort of thing and just say, "Oh, it's racist." No, I'm just saying that's what color it is. It's nuts. I want to talk about editing real quickly, and and because I think this is. There was a really good joke in that, but I don't think it's appropriate for YouTube.
Just carry on talking and just ignore the child down here.
Okay.
That's me.
I think editing with... So I'll shoot in RAW most of the time. What are you doing?
Just ignore me. Carry on.
I can't ignore it. I'm absolutely taking that. I'm going to take that screenshot from that, and that's going to be the thumbnail for this video. Change the video thumbnail. Oh, that one. Missed it. So you would edit most of your photos, right? Both of you guys. Well, we know Dave does because he goes through different apps to edit different things. Do you use different apps
before I post anything on social media, I'll have it edited to some point, even if it's just very little.
Mm-hmm. And you obviously do, David, because you just spoke about the different apps and the different files that you have after all those different apps. I think if you were to give someone in one piece of advice about editing, what would it be?
I would say, okay, one piece of advice. I would say, I don't know. Come back to me. Greg, you go.
I would say just work on developing your style. Find your style. Because I'm at the point now where I can look at some people's images on an Instagram feed, and without even seeing the name, I could pretty much tell who posted that.
Yep.
Because they've just developed their style.
Yeah. When I can actually do phone photography workshops in person, at the end of those workshops, so we'd go for a walk around town taking photos of different things, explaining composition and storytelling and that sort of thing. And the last thing that we do is a bit of Snapseed. And because it's free for everybody and it's the same on any platform. And the number one advice I give to everybody is that less is more for your editing. Like you can start with a pretty good photo from a phone and it'll end up looking like, like it's come out of Disney or Pixar Studios after you've edited the absolute bejesus out of it. It just looks like shit. But I think editing, so less is more would be mine. But the thing that I wanted to raise was editing, I think, is the thing when we talk about real cameras and real photographers versus iPhone or phone photographers. I think the thing that probably hurts the most is when people just bullshit their photos like nothing else, because you can do so many creative things on this, and you've got I can't even think what those apps are called now, where you can do multiple exposures and do some incredible masking and stuff,
like mixtures and things like that.
Yeah.
I know where you're getting this from.
Well, there is that group, and like it's on Facebook. And it's a very big group. There's like 140,000, maybe more, I don't know, members in that group. And the owners and the admins on that group post such fake bullshit photos where the moon's in front of the clouds and things like this. And they put it off as, no, it's legit. And I think that hurts the phone photography sort of.
It somewhat damages the
image.
Integrity.
Yeah. But because it's so easy to do on a phone, I think you've got to be very mindful of don't bullshit your way through it. And if you do, like somebody posted in our group there, I think it was Jason Peltz did something with some planes, but he was upfront and honest and said, "This is what I did."
Yeah.
And it was some sensational photos. He didn't try and put it off like, "Yeah, I did this," and it was straight out of the camera, but like it does with that. But I think it hurts the image when you do it too much. There's plenty of people out there taking photos with this sort of thing and ruining those photos with editing, but it's a very deliberate, I don't know what I'm doing with software, putting it onto a computer and then totally screwing it up. But with the phone, it's just so easy to manipulate it badly, and it gives everyone a bad image of what mobile photography can be. And it's pretty hard to combat that with making really good photos, good edits, putting them out there saying it's from an iPhone or it's from a Samsung, when you've got people doing that sort of thing over there as well. It's just, I think it just damages the whole thing, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'm off my soapbox now.
Yeah, to a couple of your points there, Shane, I would say give yourself the best opportunity to edit the photos by trying to get as much good signal into the sensor as you can as possible, as opposed to noise. Because then, like a lot of the time when you see people HDR the shit out of it, and HDRscape in Snapseed, we all know that one. It's so obvious when people do it, and it just brings up all the JPEG artifacts that due to low light or noise due to low light and stuff. I have a hair in my mouth. Sorry. Yeah, so try and give yourself some really clean pixels to edit with, and that's why one of the reasons why I use TIFF is kind of that, but also a point I forgot to mention before is about future-proofing my photos. One of the reasons I upload in 4K is because when devices inevitably improve and people want to look back at an old video, it's still going to look half decent, you know, for the future audience. And also,
so you upload all your YouTube videos in 4K, do you?
Yeah, except for my most recent one, because I left my camera, my Sony A7 III, at work, and I shot it on my iPhone in cinematic mode, so it's in 1080p.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
it's something that I toy with all the time about, do I edit it in 4K or not? I don't know. I probably should now. I didn't want to before because my internet was just so terrible.
Because people really, I noticed a massive difference editing in 1080, just how much worse my photos looked when I was using them as examples.
Yeah, okay. That's a good point.
Yeah, and that's one reason why I do it in 4K. Well, like one of my best videos that I made was a photo shoot I did in Manchester with my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and at the end I spend a lot of time going into one of the photos and I really transform it. Sorry, just to address something you said, Shane, about people putting like the bullshit moon in front of the clouds and stuff. I actually don't mind that if, like you say, you're upfront about it, if you don't try and pass it off as real. And if like otherworldly, out of this world, fantastical stuff is your thing, then that's great. Like I like adding fake lighting effects to my photos. I'm going through that phase. I go through phases, and I'm going through now that sort of phase, that sky replacement, sun rays sort of phase.
I think if you do that though, and you say that this was taken on, you know, this iPhone, I used lens distortions, I used mixtures, whatever, people are just going to go, oh, okay, they've added that stuff in. And people who don't know about those tools, it's going to go, that's a cool photo, but you're still not hiding what you've done. It's that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I often put the apps I've used in the description or whatever it's called on Instagram. But I edited the picture of the model. I added like a fake snow effect to it, and it took me 40 minutes to do. And someone commented, and again, this person wasn't wrong, just put like, oh, you spent 40 minutes to edit a phone photo. And again,
So
no, treat it like it's a real photo. It's not just a phone picture.
Yep. Well, there's more phone cameras out there than any other camera in the world. You can't not take it seriously to an extent. Hey, it's the way it is. Do you mention that it's a composite photo? Well, I think when it's a composite, you should.
Yes, I do.
What you're talking, what you're talking about there is not that. That's just a different app.
It really depends, really. As long as you don't try and imply that it was real, it's not a big deal to me.
Like a digital art piece is a lot of times blatantly obvious that it's a composite. But if you're trying to, show a sunset on a beach and, you throw this in, throw that in, I think it's, and if you're trying to, like you say, trying to pass it off as an original image, then, I think you need to disclose the truth on that.
Well, how many times do you hear this when you'll show someone a great photo, not necessarily that you've taken? You'll say, "Look at this great photo," and then someone will say, "Yeah, but it's been edited." like that's a rebuttal. Oh, then it's not great then. How far do you go with this?
Yeah, I remember when I first started doing astrophotography workshops here, and one of the first 10 groups that I did, there was a lady there going, "Oh no, I don't edit photos. I think that's just lying if you have to edit photos." And I said, "What you're trying to say is that you don't know how to edit a photo." That's all. It's not that you don't agree with it; you just don't know how to do it. And then you can bring out so many examples of film editing, well before Lightroom, well before Darkroom, well before any of those, like Photoshop and all that. They still edited photos with dodging and burning. You still edited photos. Don't tell me they didn't. It's always been a thing.
Exactly. It's like when they say, I think Ansel Adams is the most famous example. Didn't he may not have invented, did he invent or pioneer dodging and burning? I know he pioneered different lighting filters and things like that. So of course, everyone edits their photos.
Yeah. I've encountered so many anti-edit people. He's got a I saw a comment before,
a thumb splint.
So that, just to put that into perspective, it makes my butt head hurt. No, that's not what he's saying.
Makes my butt head.
Yeah. I have to go in a minute because Roxy's about to get home from work. But before I do, I'll just go and grab my phone. I'll show you the example that I'm talking about. You guys probably won't go for much longer anyway, will you? It's already been like
we'll wrap it up. When you're done, mate, we'll wrap it up. Grab your phone, show us what you want to talk about. So he's gone now. What else can we say? How about those blinds?
Yeah.
You could sit here and watch his light change color. It would be amazing.
I've got an idea for a thumbnail too before he goes.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to look in the direction of your microphone, but lean over and look at it. Like as if you're looking down at him.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. But over more on an angle.
Like this? No, that way.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, that way.
And then, so that's what you're going to do. And then I know what I'm going to do, and I'll have to tell David what he's going to do.
Hello.
Oh, you're back.
I have one example of my, I don't know. It's like an otherworldly style. I put this out in a video. So this is the raw file taken with a fisheye lens. And then my edit is like that. So just the sky has just been completely replaced. I wasn't trying to pass that off as the real sky. I just thought it looked really cool. I don't know what you think of stuff like that. Because my whole thing was
it improves the image for sure. But
sorry, Greg, go on.
Well, I was just going to say it definitely improves the image. Having a little bit of cloud stuff in the sky. Me myself, I would say I replaced the Sky.
Because I'm not trying to pass it off as real. And the whole theme was this fisheye lens produces otherworldly like results. So I want my edits to look otherworldly. So there was like a whole thing to it. I'm just scrolling back. It was a reflex fisheye lens. I made a promo video for them.
Yep.
Because I'm ultra biased. Towards my friends. Ultra biased towards my friends. I make promo videos for, even though I'm what's it called? I don't know what the word is. Non-partisan. Is that the right word?
Oh yeah.
All right. So here is
what's your idea for this? You got another one? Yep.
No, here's the one I was talking about with the snow.
Oh yeah, I remember that video.
All right, yeah.
Was it video or was it YouTube post? It was like multiple.
Yeah, like her whole dress is from a different photo, and the snow is from a different picture. I mean, why would she go out in that dress in the snow? Who knows? I just decided on a whim to add some snow to that photo, and I just liked it. Now, some people will absolutely hate that, but I thought it was all right.
I look at those sorts of things, and
there's the raw picture.
Exactly what you just said. Yeah, right.
That's the raw image.
Yep. I look at those sorts of photos and I think about exactly what you just said. Like she's wearing a summer dress and it's snowing. What is wrong with that? And I do that with TV shows as well. If you're watching it's that cowboy show on Yellowstone. Have you seen that movie? That TV show, Yellowstone? So there's a scene where one of these characters, he like gets this house given to him, and then in the morning he's like, okay, I'm off to work, and he like walks down to this fence and a gate in the fence that's like say 20 meters from the house, but in front of it there's nothing. There's like just wilderness way out there. He's like, I'm off to work. I'm like, where the fuck are you going? There's nothing there. It's like a big paddock and mountains like kilometers away. There's no horse. There's no car. Where the hell are you going? I'm off to work. Like, where the fuck are you going, dude? It just doesn't make sense to me. The same thing with that dress. It's like, it's snowing. Put a jumper on. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, she was freezing.
I've got a question there from Azad Black Ops. That's got to be a gamer of some sort. Black Ops.
Be a gamer tag.
Is 14 Pro Max good for Astro? 14, any iPhone can do it. There's better options, but any iPhone can do it. I think what I've seen with that S23 Ultra with Astro is just sensational. And if you were getting a phone just for astrophotography, if that was like a major deciding factor for you, you would have to be looking at that phone. There's other considerations like your environment and like your machines that you have, like your watches, your computer, all that sort of stuff. But if it was just for Astro, I'd be looking at that, the Vivos, what's they called? What's that Chinese brand as well?
Oh yeah, the one with the
Xiaomi.
Xiaomi, yeah. Like some of what I'm seeing with that some of the photos that you see from that, I just can't get them here. I can't get that phone here. The amount of phones that exist in the world that I just want to bring here to take Astro with, the list is getting longer every year, but I just can't get them in Australia for whatever reason. And I'm not that keen to go and spend a couple of grand on something on an overseas eBay and hopefully it comes. It just doesn't sit right.
Guys, I'm going
to answer your question, iPhone can do it, but not so much. We'll do this quick thing that Greg wants to do with it for a photo, for a screenshot.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll wrap it up anyway. What do you want to do, Greg?
Okay, so I was going to do it offline, though, so we don't spoil it.
Oh, you want to do it offline?
Or we can do it online. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
I don't know. If we end up turning this into a podcast, it'll be really boring.
Yeah.
We'll do it offline.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up then. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Sorry about the lack of forethought that went into this because we decided to do it last night and I decided what we're going to do just this morning, about 2 or 3 hours ago. So thanks for coming on, Dave. It's good to see you again, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And we'll
Thanks
see you
everybody
guys
for
later.
tuning in.
Catches.